Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Seat Wars, and it's from Detestable Games. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page. You can do so by following the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Those links will take you to the page. You can find out more information than I could possibly tell you here, and hopefully you'll consider backing the project. Now, Seat Wars is a competitive game where you are taking part in the onerous task of taking public transportation, specifically a bus, and trying to get the best seats possible. But of course, there's a bunch of other weirdos on the bus who are going to make that as difficult as possible for you. So if you can get an open seat, that's great. If you can't, you might have to muscle them out a little bit, or there's only going to be standing room only. Now, the whole point of doing all this in game terms is to score points. The better seats that you can get and score, the more points you're going to get, the better passengers you can score, so on and so forth. And there are some other little quirks thrown in. So let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game is played with a prototype version of the game. So do note that what you see here may change in the final version. That's why you should go to the Kickstarter page and find out more information. But in any case, then we're going to come back and we will discuss it further. Seat Wars is a competitive game for 2 to 5 players. Each player is trying to get home or get to work on the bus, but has to find the best seats. During the game, you'll be positioning characters in those seats and trying to score them. The game ends when the main deck runs out, and whoever has the most points will be the winner. To set up the game, lay out the game board, which, in the final version, will have a special side that's just for 2 players. There are 2 decks of cards that you'll shuffle, the main blue deck and the orange item deck. The item deck is left alone for now, but every player will be dealt 5 cards from the main deck. There are 3 different types of main deck cards. The first and most numerous are character cards, the cards you'll be trying to strategically seat on the bus and use to score. Every character card has 4 traits: a maximum point value in the top left corner, used when you score the card and place it in your scoring zone, an attack value in the upper right corner, used to determine whether the character can usurp an occupied seat, a minimum point value in the bottom right corner, used when special cards tell you to score that way, and some character cards have special abilities under their name, usually having to do with where they're seated. Some characters also have orange symbols next to their name. We'll get to those in a minute. The second type of main deck cards are equipment cards, which attach to a character you're about to use to challenge a seat, and will increase their attack power at the cost of an action. They're not worth any points. The third type of main deck card are events. For an action, you can play these cards from hand in order to tilt the game in your favor. They might let you draw cards or score cards early, or they can hurt and hinder your opponent's cards. The item cards from the secondary orange deck are drawn and played when a character with an orange symbol next to their name is played. If there's an empty seat next to that character, an item is drawn and played in that seat. They can be scored by any player, though you need to challenge and beat the shield number. After setup, choose who will go first. Players will take their turns in clockwise order, taking 3 actions on their own turn, which they can spend on several different options in any order. First is simply playing character cards. If there's an empty seat, great. Play the character card down to it, and remember, if it has an orange symbol, you also get to put an item card next to it. If there's not an empty seat, or if you just really want a particular seat that happens to be occupied, you'll have to challenge someone else's played character. Place down your character, and if your attack rating is higher, the seated character is sent to the discard pile and your character sits down. If it's not higher, you can attach an equipment card from hand to increase the attack value, which is the other type of action you can take, and therefore counts against the 3 that you're allotted. Your opponent cannot do this in response since it's not their turn. Alternatively, you can use your action to play an event card from hand and hopefully help yourself or hinder your opponents. Lastly, you can move a character of yours from the board to your scoring zone for an action. You can't do this on the same turn the character was played. The card has to stay out there for at least 1 full round. Some cards will force you to take minimum points. If you have to do that, you'll take the character, put them in the scoring zone, and turn them upside down. If you have actions left but you need cards, you can forego the rest of your turn and draw 1 card from the main deck for every action that's left. This will end your turn. Even if you have 1 or more actions left after drawing, you can't go back and spend those actions in different ways. The game end is triggered when a player draws the last card from the main deck, and every player, including that one, has one more turn afterwards. Then, just add up all of your points. Any player that has unscored characters can just score them for minimum points. Whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. Well, I think it's always fun when a theme that is unusual and you don't see a lot is explored in a game. And I think that's definitely the case with Seat Wars, where, there's people, if you live in the big city at least, who have to take the bus every single day, or at the very least you see a bus all the time, and occasionally you might have to take one, so a lot of people have to deal with this. So these sort of slice of life type things can be a very interesting theme for a game because you just don't see it very often. Usually it's either very ancient past that you can't even relate to at all, or you also can't relate to fantasy or science fiction. So a very down-to-earth theme here. But the fact is that you also have the game to back it up. In this case, it's not just, it would have been very simple to make a game like this, and I think there have been games like this with similar themes where it's just like, take that, like just throwing cards at each other. In this case, you have to very strategically think about how you want to place cards out onto the board, knowing that you can't score them right away, the passenger cards, the character cards that you play, but you have to wait a full round. So you have to think about, and you don't even have to necessarily score them in that next round. It might be better to do something else with your very precious actions that you have. This is an action selection game and sort of an action management game and hand management game as well, because you do have a hand limit of 7 cards and it's very difficult to get cards into your hand. You have to, again, spend your precious actions to do so. So it sort of rewards planning ahead, not only how you're going to score, but what you're setting yourself up for in the future, holding back on cards like the event cards and like the equipment cards in order to gain the most advantage when it's necessary. That's on top of the character cards that allow you to put out an item card if you have the space available, which again, you have to set up in the best way possible. Maybe that means that you have to take over a seat one round, score the card that you replace there the next round, and then be able to play that card you've been holding back that has an item card along with it. But remember, anyone can score that item card. It's just a little bit more difficult than some of your average characters. So, there's a lot going on, despite the fact that really, it's a simple game to set up. It's a simple game to teach. You can have it up and running in 5 minutes, even with having to teach people. But because it has these extra elements going on with it, it's not an overly simplistic game as far as the game complexity and how it plays from turn to turn. So if you like the theme, if you want a more casual game that also some of your more hardcore gamer pals might want to play as well, then definitely don't take my word for any of this. Go to the Kickstarter page and find out more information. You can follow the link in the top corner of your screen as well as down in the description section underneath this video. That is Seat Wars from Detestable Games. Thank you so much for watching, and as always for supporting our sponsors. Take care.